The South African Federation of Trade Unions, Saftu, has briefed the media on plans and details of the upcoming national shutdown organised for Wednesday. Saftu, Cosatu and other worker representatives are to march to the union buildings to protest about the high cost of living in South Africa. For more, I'm joined by my colleague and SABC News reporter, Mbalenhle Mthethwa. Mbalenhle, thank you so much. Just how much impact is this stay-away expected to have on just lastly, the economy? What did they say?
Well, there was a question on the floor just asking the fact that, the Labour Federation is trying to call on government to do something in order to assist with stimulating economic growth in the country. And yet they've called a stay away, which would then shut down the economy for a day. What we are expecting to see is mass protest action at in all our 9 provinces. And it seems as though every province has a different or separate plan of action where they're going to be marching to various offices and meeting at one spot. In Gauteng, we do understand that they will be meeting in Johannesburg and marching to the Premier's offices. They've also spoken about going to the union buildings. There are also other plans to also stage a stay away or sleep over outside the union buildings. The purpose of the briefing was really to give clarity on the plan of action and the course of action that is expected. We do understand that this is the first of many. While they do understand that one protest action is not going to bring about the impact they are hoping the protest action will have, they are going to then go back to the drawing board to try and intensify the protest action. And this is also going to be driven or guided by government's response.
So tomorrow, it's a very anticipated day in the economic diary because Statistics South Africa is releasing quarterly forced labor survey, which tracks the unemployment numbers. And it is widely expected from the economists and analysts that we have surveyed that the number is likely to jump up to 35%. We're currently at 34.9, but it will go about to 35. Do you think this is likely to fuel the energy of the strike to say, look now, more people are unemployed, therefore do something?
This takes me back to what Zwelinzima Vavi, who is Saftu's General Secretary, said during the briefing. While expectations are that the unemployment levels will rise to just over 35%, he expects and anticipates that unemployment will rise to over 50%. Okay. He's bemoaned the levels of unemployment within the different demographics within the country, and also just saying that, the floods in KZN will also have somewhat of an impact on the unemployment numbers, and also just talking about the fact that, it seems as though the cost of living is so high to the extent that even those who are who are employed cannot really afford to live because, everything has gone up. And this is why they, as a Labour Federation, are calling for a working wage, saying that, echoing AMCU's demands of 12,500 rand.
Is it not 20 now?
No, he said 12,500 rand, a basic income of 12,500 rand. So it seems as though they are calling for that that living wage. Also just talking about the increases in terms of electricity tariffs, the rising fuel prices, also just impacting the cost of living, making allegations, really saying that there's a plan to increase these tariffs, electricity tariffs, because this is all to send in, the purpose of this is to send a message to investors that there are some profits that stand to be made when or in the event that electricity generation is privatized in South Africa. Just calling on government not to privatize your SOEs, and also saying that they're calling against the unbundling of Eskom, saying that this would actually create a crisis or a problem where you have these big companies that are driven by profits, making the prices and setting the prices and operating as a monopoly obviously then putting a lot of pressure on consumers who then have to, and particularly the poor, who cannot afford as things stand.
Yeah.
Also just talking about the fact that these tariff increases are what drove residents in Tembisa to the
protest, yes.
streets. And we saw that protest claiming the lives of 4
You covered that.
Tembisa.
You covered
Yes,
that.
I did. And at the heart of that are those rising tariffs and also rising municipal tariffs, where people say that it seems as though they are paying 2 mortgages, one to the bank and one to the municipality.
Yeah.
Now, this just talks to the pinch and the extent of, the pressure that residents and consumers are feeling on the ground.
So you can imagine that there are 2 sets of consumers here, those that are now unemployed and maybe have to deal with only the 350 SRD grant that they get. And then you have the working class also who are beginning to feel the pinch, because when you look at the wage, public servants' wages now, they're not moving. Government has been stuck at around 2%, and they're not reflective of inflation. So this is really putting pressure on consumers. I know that you cover on the ground a lot, and when you mentioned the issue of Tembisa, but what other issues are particularly the working class saying with regards to the rising cost of living? I know that I'm feeling it already.
Well, Zwelinzima Mavavi did raise the issue of transport costs.
Yeah.
Now, we understand that some taxi associations all over South Africa have communicated that they are contemplating and considering increasing taxi tariffs, and this will obviously impact on, ordinary South Africans.
Yes.
We heard Zwelinzima Mavavi talking about the fact that commuting in between work and home for some residents can go from anything from 1,500 Rand a month to 4,500 Rand a month, which is a lot. And a lot of the time, when we talk about inflation and we talk about all of these things, and we talk about the income brackets of some of South Africans, this means that they are contributing, most of their salary goes towards paying for transport costs. We've heard Zwelinzima Mavavi also blaming government for a failed, or what seems to be a failing public transport system, saying that the railway system the rail is actually supposed to pick up the slack, and it's a cheaper mode of transportation. Something he said many a time. This is not the first time he's talking about this. Okay. I remember the one time when they collaborated with Cosatu and protested and marched all the way to the Premier's offices. He did make this this point, saying that rail is an important part of public transport, and government needs to do more in terms of ensuring that it is, there are some form of investments that go into ensuring that it runs like it should, or as it should. So these are some of the issues that have been raised. He also spoke about the issue of the fact that those who are employed, a small percentage of those who are still employed are then faced with the task of having to then look after other family members, and we would then call this black tax, for lack of a better word. Just talking about the pressures really that are facing those who are in employment and those who are unemployed in the midst of rising transport costs,
and
fuel
the cost
costs,
of living just in general.
Electricity tariffs, everything. Really.
Right. Mbalenhle Mthethwa, thank you so much. A comprehensive report from you. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to that stay away on Wednesday to see how many people actually come out in support of the strike.